I never thought my best friend, Ellie, would betray me, especially not with Alex, my roommate and Sarah's fiancé. But one night, everything changed. What started as an ordinary evening turned into the most devastating discovery of my life. Let me set the stage for you. My name is Chris, and at 27, I thought I had life figured out. As a graphic designer, my workdays were long, but my evenings were filled with laughter and warmth, thanks to my two closest friends. First, there's Alex, my 28-year-old roommate. He's an IT specialist, the kind of guy who's always calm and logical. Then there's Sarah, his fiancée. Sarah, 26, is a nurse with a heart of gold. She's the kind of person who makes you feel seen and valued, always ready to brighten a room. Together, Alex and Sarah had a love story that seemed unbreakable. And then there's Ellie, my best friend since college. Ellie is 27, full of energy and charm, with a quick wit that makes every conversation lively. She works in marketing and has been my rock through thick and thin. The four of us had a tight bond, weekend hangouts, inside jokes, and late-night talks that made our little circle feel unshakable. Or so I thought. Nah. What I didn't know was that beneath the surface, cracks were forming, cracks that would shatter our friendships and my trust in ways I couldn't have imagined. It was a Wednesday night, just like any other. I had stayed late at the office, wrapping up a big project, and decided to grab some takeout on the way home. I wasn't expecting anything unusual. The apartment was supposed to be quiet, with Alex working late and Sarah at her place. But as I unlocked the door and stepped inside, I immediately sensed something was off. The lights in the kitchen were dim, and I heard low voices. Curious but not overly concerned, I walked toward the sound. That's when I saw them, Ellie and Alex, standing too close, their faces just inches apart. For a moment, I couldn't comprehend what I was seeing. Was this a joke? A misunderstanding? But then Alex reached out, gently brushing Ellie's hair back, and it all clicked. This wasn't a friendly moment. This was betrayal unfolding right before my eyes. Ellie turned, her expression a mix of shock and guilt when she saw me. Alex froze, his mouth opening as if to explain, but no words came out. I couldn't stay. Without a word, I turned and walked out, my heart racing, my mind spinning. How could the two people I trusted most do this, not just to Sarah, but to me? That moment marked the beginning of a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. In the days that followed, my mind became a battlefield. I couldn't stop replaying what I'd seen Ellie and Alex together, their guilt written all over their faces. The betrayal wasn't just about Sarah, it felt personal. Ellie was my best friend, the person I had confided in countless times. And Alex, my roommate, someone I shared my life with daily, was supposed to be trustworthy. Every time Sarah's name came up in conversation, the guilt ate at me. She'd drop by the apartment, her usual cheerful self, chatting about wedding plans and asking for opinions on decor and venue choices. The weight of my silence grew unbearable. I wanted to tell her, to protect her from the impending disaster. But Ellie's tearful pleas echoed in my mind. Please, Chris, don't tell her. It was a mistake. We didn't mean for this to happen. At the same time, Alex avoided me entirely. He barely spoke, his guilt evident in his every action. The tension in the apartment was suffocating. Nights turned sleepless as I wrestled with the impossible choice: should I protect my best friend's secret or tell Sarah the truth? On one hand, Ellie had been there for me through everything: breakups, career setbacks, and family drama. But on the other hand, Sarah didn't deserve to walk into a marriage built on lies. I felt trapped, as if every move I made would destroy someone's life, including my own. Living with Alex after the discovery became unbearable. The once comfortable space we shared now felt like a cage. Every interaction was steeped in awkwardness. Alex would leave for work early and return late, clearly trying to avoid me. When we did cross paths, the air was thick with unspoken tension. Ellie, on the other hand, acted like everything was normal, at least when Sarah was around. But when it was just the two of us, she tried to justify her actions. "Chris, you don't understand," she'd say. "It just happened. I didn't mean to hurt anyone." Her attempts to explain only made it worse. And then there was Sarah. She kept visiting the apartment, her excitement about the wedding shining through her every word. She'd show me fabric swatches, talk about invitations, and gush over how perfect Alex was. Each moment felt like a dagger to my conscience. I wanted to scream the truth, to stop her from making what I knew would be the biggest mistake of her life. The apartment, once a sanctuary of friendship and laughter, had turned into a pressure cooker. Every day felt heavier than the last. I knew I couldn't go on like this forever. A decision had to be made, but the consequences terrified me. The turning point came on a quiet Sunday afternoon. Sarah had stopped by the apartment with a box of cupcakes, a treat she had picked up after a bridal fitting. Her happiness was contagious as she chatted about the wedding day countdown. "Just 2 months to go," she said, her eyes sparkling. She handed me a cupcake, and as I unwrapped it, she asked for my advice on her vows. "I want them to be perfect," she said. "Alex deserves that." Hearing those words felt like a punch to the gut. I could barely focus on her voice over the roaring guilt in my head. My hand shook as I set the cupcake down, unable to meet her gaze. How could I sit there, listening to her plan a future with a man who had betrayed her? That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The weight of my silence was unbearable. Keeping this secret was no longer about protecting Ellie or sparing Alex, it was about doing what was right. I couldn't let Sarah walk into a marriage based on lies. It wasn't fair to her. And it wasn't fair to myself. The next morning I made up my mind. I would tell Sarah the truth. I texted Sarah, asking if we could meet. "It's important," I wrote, my hands trembling as I hit send. We agreed to meet at a nearby coffee shop that afternoon. As I sat across from her, watching her sip her latte with a carefree smile, I felt the enormity of what I was about to do. "Chris, you're scaring me," she said with a nervous laugh. "What's going on?" Taking a deep breath, I began. "Sarah, there's something you need to know about Alex." My voice cracked as I recounted what I had seen Ellie and Alex in the kitchen, their betrayal undeniable. I didn't sugarcoat it, she deserved the full truth. Her face went pale, her hands gripping the coffee cup so tightly I thought it might shatter. "Are you sure?" she whispered, her voice trembling. When I nodded, tears streamed down her face. The devastation in her eyes was something I would never forget. "I'm so sorry, Sarah," I said, my own voice breaking. "But you deserve to know." She stood up abruptly, gathering her things. "Thank you for telling me," she said quietly before walking out. As I watched her leave, I felt a mix of relief and heartbreak. The truth was out, but at what cost? The days after Sarah confronted Alex were a whirlwind of chaos. The calm, predictable world I once knew dissolved into a storm of anger and hurt. Sarah, understandably, broke off the engagement. Her visits to the apartment stopped entirely, leaving behind a void that only highlighted the tension between the rest of us. Ellie was furious with me. "How could you?" she screamed during one heated argument. "You've ruined everything, but what was there to ruin?" She had made her choices, and Alex had done the same. Still, her words stung. This was the person I had considered my best friend, and now we were strangers divided by betrayal. Alex wasn't much better. He avoided me completely, barely coming out of his room except to leave for work. When he finally did speak to me, it was curt and laced with bitterness. "I hope you're happy," he said one evening before slamming the door. The apartment, once filled with laughter and camaraderie, had become a battlefield. Every interaction was laced with tension, every glance a reminder of the broken trust between us. Even simple tasks like making dinner felt unbearable. The silence was deafening, the air heavy with unspoken resentment. It was clear that the relationships I had cherished were now beyond repair. I knew I couldn't stay in that toxic environment any longer. The apartment that had once felt like home now felt like a prison. Every corner reminded me of happier times, but those memories were tainted now. One evening, as I packed my belongings, I couldn't help but reflect on how drastically my life had changed in just a few weeks. I had lost my best friend, my roommate, and the small but meaningful community we had built. But I also felt a sense of relief. Leaving was painful, but it was necessary for my own peace of mind. On my last night there, I took one final look around the apartment. The walls, once echoing with laughter, now felt hollow. I left a note for Ellie and Alex, short, direct, and devoid of blame. I hope you both find what you're looking for. I need to move forward. As I closed the door behind me, I felt a strange mix of emotions. There was sadness, of course, but also a glimmer of hope. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I had made the right choice. Months passed and life moved forward, though not without its scars. I had settled into a new apartment across town, trying to rebuild a semblance of normalcy. The wound left by Ellie and Alex's betrayal didn't heal overnight, but time softened the edges. One day, out of the blue, Ellie reached out. Her message was brief. "Can we talk?" I hesitated. Part of me wanted to ignore her, but another part was curious. Could we salvage anything from the wreckage of our friendship? We met at a small park near my new place. Ellie looked different, tired, subdued. She didn't try to justify her actions this time. Instead, she apologized. I was selfish, she admitted, her voice heavy with regret. I let my feelings get the better of me, and I hurt everyone, including you. Her words brought a strange mix of emotions. I wasn't ready to forgive her completely, but hearing her acknowledge the pain she caused felt like a step forward. A few weeks later, Alex reached out as well. Our conversation was less emotional, more matter-of-fact. "I screwed up," he said simply. He didn't ask for forgiveness, but he acknowledged his mistakes. While our relationships would never return to what they once were, these attempts at reconciliation reminded me that people are flawed. We make mistakes, but we also have the capacity to grow. Though our paths diverged, I found a small measure of closure in their efforts to make amends. Life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. A year after leaving the apartment, I found myself on a work trip in a new city. One evening, while grabbing dinner at a cozy cafe, I struck up a conversation with the person sitting next to me, a warm, friendly woman named Leah. Leah was a photographer with a quick smile and an infectious laugh. We clicked instantly, talking for hours about everything from art to travel. It felt easy, natural. For the first time in a long while, I felt genuinely happy. As our friendship grew into something more, I realized how far I'd come since the events with Ellie and Alex. Betrayal had shattered my world, but it also forced me to rebuild. It taught me the value of honesty, resilience, and self-worth. Looking back, I don't regret telling Sarah the truth. It was painful, yes, but necessary. Sometimes doing the right thing means making hard choices. Thank you for watching. That's the story of how betrayal broke my world but also gave me a chance to start over. If you enjoyed this video or found it thought-provoking, don't forget to like, share, and comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts or your own stories of navigating complex friendships. And of course, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for more real-life stories like this. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.